I am Chris Hanks. I am a project leader. I put together the work instructions on what we're going to build, put together all of the bill of materials, and then release that data to the programmers or to the floor, depending on how it's going to be handled. I kind of can bridge that gap of knowing that we need to be able to manufacture it out on the floor versus what we see on the screen. And I get to see them through the shop from the time they get released from a PO to the time they are on the dock ready to ship. Some customers give us something that's already designed, so that would come more through directly to me. Other things come in that we design, so it would go through our design department before I get to see it. With some customers, it's going to really be the type of equipment they're running has certain needs. You know, is it a style of mold? Is it a static pour? Is it low pressure? All those processes have kind of their own unique needs. The sooner we can get our eyes and hands on it and pick it apart, the better off we are. Interferences between the moving parts that you just don't see in the CAD model. They're kind of hidden between each other, underneath things, around things. They're going to interfere, crash with each other, or maybe they're too far apart and they're not going to close. You know, it's usually as you start pulling that piece by piece, preparing those parts to be built is when you stumble across some of the issues that are maybe in the design. I think that role that all of us project leaders play, being kind of in between the design and the guys that are going to make programs or build the parts on the floor, kind of gives us just an extra set of eyes and opportunity to fish out issues. We try to keep everything paperless as much as possible. A person in my role would create a what they call a process or detailed process, and then there's a list of operations in there, so they know what to machine or what to do at every operation, from the time it comes in the door from the raw billet till the time it's finished in the CMM room and put together. We have to make a file that can go to our programmers, and that's not necessarily a file that would come right from our design people. So we set the part up for our work holding and clamping devices. From there, I guess it's really just making sure that we have the models properly colored for the fit and function of all the features. So our color codes tell the programmers what tolerance those features need to be, so they can use the proper tooling to make those tolerances happen. You don't ever get to build stuff multiple times. You know, if we get to build 2 or 3 of something, we're lucky. And it's hard to say you're never going to make a mistake when you do something for the first time. Typically, there's always approvals, customer approvals, and before we can move forward. So that would start with me to determine on what the problem is, what we think we can do to fix it, and then if there's approvals needed, I start that communication. No one likes a surprise when they get a tool and they find something that was repaired, or maybe repaired in a way they don't appreciate, or they wouldn't approve of that fix. Pressure checking all the plumbing, making sure all the stuff's not going to leak. And then the final fits, which usually there's some kind of an approval process there between us and the customer. They'll sign off on what they see. So making sure everything fits properly. That mold will actually have to be heated up to make sure it functions under a certain amount of heat. It's a little different than some of the sand tools you see out there. Those will be double checked with bluing, and we photograph all of our work and send it along for approvals. So there'll be some form of documentation saying what we did, whether it's photograph evidence, or if it's just telling them that we heated it up to this temperature and we prove everything opens and closes. It's an issue if we find it here, but it's a bigger issue if they find it there. The early on understanding of all the fit and function, in some ways you got to be kind of nitpicky through the process. It helps streamline the process, knowing that when we get to the end, everything should go together. It cuts down on a lot of the last minute changes. This line of work in general, the quality is a huge deal because you know, everyone wants to be able to receive their tool and plug it in and run it.